Today we're diving into a topic that feels perfect for the start of a new year, which is when I'm recording this. And the topic is liminal spaces, those moments where life feels uncertain and you're waiting for what's next. I'll explain why these in-between times are so valuable and share tips for finding peace, purpose, and possibility during transitions. If you're feeling stuck in a chapter of your life, stay with me. Together we'll explore how to embrace your liminal space. Hey, welcome to episode 7 of Catching Sunshine. I'm so happy you're here with me. In case you're wondering what exactly liminal means, because it's not a word we use a lot. Anyway, it's not a word I use a lot. It comes from the Latin word limen, which means threshold. Liminal spaces are those in-between moments, the space between what was and what's next. So think of standing in a doorway, or being at an airport, or even crossing a bridge that connects two places. And how about even standing on a beach where the land meets the sea, or the sea meets the land? It's a transition zone. It's a place of transformation. And I just want to start by defining this liminal space a little bit more. There are actually two kinds of threshold experiences in our lives. First, there are those clear moments of crossing over, like walking through a new door, the day you get married, or maybe the day your divorce is final, the day you move to a new city or a new home, the moment you hold your new baby. These are true liminal events where there's a clear before this happened and after this happened story. Then there are the transition periods that come with these changes, those in-between times where we're no longer in our old life, but we haven't quite settled into our new one. Maybe you're adjusting to being an empty nester or finding your footing in a new career. Or I know for a lot of my friends, they're learning how to care for aging parents. These periods can feel long, and that's okay. They're part of how we grow and transform. And those aren't exactly the doorway, but it's what it takes to walk down the hall before going through that door, and then the new hallway, so to speak, after walking through the doorway. These spaces can feel uncomfortable because, let's face it, we like certainty. Most of us, we want to know what's next. But the longer liminal spaces aren't just places we get through. They're where we grow, reflect, prepare for what's next. They hold incredible value. Maybe instead of just sitting passively in a waiting room, we can be more like plants in a greenhouse, actively growing and transforming even when it looks like nothing is happening on the surface. You know, sometimes we get caught in this mindset of when I finish this degree, when things slow down at work, or when I get all the clients I want, or when the kids are older. The journalist Alan Saunders had it right when he said, "Life is what happens to us while we're making other plans." John Lennon later famously quoted that, by the way. There's a difference between sitting in a waiting room saying when, and being in a greenhouse actively participating in growth opportunities. The beautiful, messy, everyday flow of life that's happening right now, these aren't just scenes that we have to get through to reach some imagined perfect future, or where things feel less awkward or things feel more comfortable for us, but they're actually life itself. Every season has its own kind of beauty. Every chapter in our book, even the challenging ones, even the in-between ones, are all there for our learning and our growth. Several years ago, I had a client from England who flew to southern Utah to attend my Simply Align energy healing course. And he was so sweet. He brought, for me and my husband and all of our kids, he brought us all t-shirts that said, "Mind the gap." It's a common phrase in the UK. It's used in the subway system to warn passengers to be careful of the gap between the train and the platform. And then a few years later, while visiting London, my husband and I and a couple of our kids, we were constantly reminded of that phrase as we awaited our trains in the subway. We'd hear on the sound system, "Mind the gap." It's such a great metaphor, isn't it? In the subway system, that space between the train and the platform, it might seem awkward or inconvenient or scary, but it's absolutely necessary for the train's proper arrival and departure. The gap creates the right timing and the right spacing for smooth transitions. So I've been thinking about this. Sometimes that gap is brief, just the moment between stepping off one platform and onto the train that's already waiting. Other times we need to wait on the platform for the next train to arrive, and that requires patience and trust in the timing. Both are necessary parts of the journey. Just like minding the subway gap, we also need to be mindful of the liminal spaces in our lives that sometimes feel uncomfortable, but they're necessary for proper timing. They give us the exact space we need to move from one phase to the next quickly, or sometimes to step back, to watch, to learn, and to have patience. Nature shows us both kinds of liminal experiences. There's the moment a butterfly emerges, that threshold crossing from cocoon to flight. But there's also the longer transformation inside the cocoon. It's not just a waiting room, it's where transformation is continually happening. And think about winter and spring. There's that magical liminal moment when the first tulip pushes through the soil, marking winter's end. But before the visible breakthrough, there's the longer hidden period where bulbs are quietly gathering strength under the frozen ground. We can't see what's going on. Both of those are essential, the moment of emergence and the gradual preparation that made it all possible. These in-between times aren't passive waiting areas at all. They're more like greenhouses, active places of growth and transformation where new life is being nurtured. Right now, beneath the winter soil, bulbs are slowly developing their spring blooms. And while many cocoons are resting through the cold, they're not just waiting. Inside, the foundation for transformation is already at work, cell by cell, preparing for the moment they'll emerge. Similarly, your in-between moments can be times of intentional growth, even when the changes aren't yet visible. That's exactly how I want you to think about your own liminal space. Maybe you're in the middle of a big change, standing on that bridge between what was and what will be. The journey across that bridge is the transformation. You are in that cocoon. You are in the gestation period. Every step is part of your becoming. Every moment in your personal greenhouse is precious and purposeful. So whether you're in a moment of big change or navigating a longer period of transition, here's a few ideas on how to embrace your liminal space. You always want to start with small steps, small but meaningful steps, because progress doesn't have to be big to be impactful. Take some quiet time for reflection. You can just ponder on these questions, or if you like them, you can slow down and write them down, or you can come back and re-listen to this episode. Journaling is a great tool for this. So ask yourself, what am I learning about myself right now? How am I helping myself move forward? What do I need to let go of before stepping forward? What lights me up as I think about what's next? You might even write a letter to your future self to create a vision for the year ahead. What kind of story do you want to write for this next phase of your life? The pencil is in your hand. And of course, always practice gratitude, because that is such a potent energy. Instead of seeing this liminal time as a delay, thank it for giving you space to grow and prepare. Sometimes what seems to be a frustrating pause is actually protecting you from moving forward too quickly. So your in-between has meaning. It's a sacred space for preparation and self-discovery. And I haven't mentioned this, but pregnancy beautifully illustrates both types of liminal experiences. There's the profound moment of birth itself, and there's also the gradual growth over 9 months. Both are sacred parts of the journey. So while you're excited about what's to come, you can also savor each moment of creation and transformation. This teaches us something important about all liminal spaces. We can hold both happy anticipation and present moment awareness. It's possible to be fully present while eagerly awaiting the future. These natural cycles show us something profound about our own transitions, and that is that they're not just about getting from point A to point B. We're doing essential work in our liminal spaces, even when it feels like things are moving slower than we'd like. But you might think, this chapter of my life, why is this taking forever? Why can't I just get to the next thing? Why does Mr. Right not show up for me yet? Why does this pay increase not show up for me? Whatever it is that you're working towards, remember these liminal spaces, whether they're physical, like airports or bridges, or emotional times of change or growth, they all serve a purpose in our journey. So let's recap. Today we've explored those in-between spaces in life, both the moments of crossing thresholds and the longer periods of transformation to follow. We're always moving towards something, so it depends on how you look at that. But today I was talking mostly about the before this happened and after this happened, those kind of defining times in our life. What bridge are you on right now? And remember, bridges can be longer than expected, or things can unexpectedly change in the blink of an eye. Like the butterfly in its cocoon or the bulb under the winter soil, your becoming is already underway. These liminal times aren't just uncomfortable gaps to get through. They're sacred spaces where growth happens, where we prepare for what's next. And yes, liminal spaces can challenge us. They can bring self-doubt, impatience, fear of the unknown. But don't get stuck in the mindset of when this happens, I'll be happy. True joy and fulfillment come from appreciating the journey, not just the destination. So when you feel stuck, remember you're not just waiting, you are becoming. Because, my friend, you have what it takes to turn uncertainty into possibility. How can you lean into the liminal? What's one small action you can take today to honor this in-between space on your journey? That's the question I'm going to leave you with. You've got this.